What is up, everybody? Welcome to Crunch Time, sponsored by Fanduel here on RotoGrinders. Happy to be with you for the second edition of Crunch Time today, and I believe the second edition in which Mr. Keith Eister has appeared. It's a doubleheader for Keith, and I'm sure he got a snack, he maybe took a nap, he had an ice bath, whatever he needed to rest between games 1 and game 2. And he's taking the mound again. So I am Justin Van Zuden, a.k.a. STL Cardinals 84. First show of the day for me, so no rest and recovery needed, though I did take a little nap this afternoon, so ready to go. But Keith, take 2 for today. How you doing?
Yeah, ready to go. Back for the double dip. Early slate didn't go so well for me. I had a bunch of Verlander. He got hit around a little bit, and Taijuan Walker seems to have rediscovered his strikeout stuff. So pitching's a little harder to find on this one, but
no kidding.
We'll get into that.
Yes, I actually stacked the Tigers quite a bit this afternoon. Last I checked, they have 14 runs. The problem is the Tigers were so cheap that every Tigers lineup has Verlander with it, so that didn't work out so well either. We're not going to probably finish at the top, though. Tigers with 14 runs might help me end up with a little bit of a green afternoon, but not the first place prize that we're looking for. And maybe we can get there tonight on a slate that, as you mentioned, doesn't have nearly as much to offer from a pitching perspective. It's quite tricky out there. Just 4 games on the slate on our sponsor site, FanDuel, tonight. DraftKings has added the second game of the Angels-Mariners doubleheader, but that game doesn't start until 10, and right now the first game is still going on, and I believe the Mariners haven't even announced a starting pitcher for the second game. At least I can't find it if they have, so we don't have lineups for that game. We don't even know who's pitching for the Mariners. It's going to be tough to break that game down in any sort of detail, but does give us at least another option on DraftKings. Doesn't really give us any additional pitching options, though. So it's a tricky slate on the mound, and a slate that is basically going to be determined by the bats and trying not to hit the landmines with your pitchers and just get a competent score. You can see I've got the screen share up right now. We don't have a single pitcher on FanDuel projected above 30 FanDuel points on the night slate. I don't think we have anybody on DraftKings projected for more than like 14. So basically it's a night that doesn't offer a lot of arms, and you're going to see a ton of Julio Urias simply by default. So Keith, what do you do on a slate like this as far as trying to navigate the pitching build?
Yeah, it's a really difficult one to navigate. I was prepared to attempt the Julio Urias fade. I mean, he is clearly the top arm on the slate. He's the most talented pitcher. There's not any big strikeout rates on the slate. Crawford has had some success out of the Boston bullpen striking guys out, but he didn't have a big strikeout rate in the minors. Urias has been around 21% strikeouts this year. He's facing an incredibly low strikeout Cleveland team. They have the lowest strikeout in the majors. So I was going to attempt the fade of Urias and just hope that he didn't get any strikeouts. He doesn't go deep into games. So if he gave you like 6 innings and 4 strikeouts, maybe I could try to find a match for that with one of these cheaper guys. But then Cleveland goes and Jose Ramirez is not in the lineup. So there's just not a lot of threat to Urias. Maybe he can get a little bit deeper than he typically does. I think he makes it past 5 into the 6 and probably through 6 innings pretty easily here against a watered down Cleveland lineup. Yeah, so he's the clear top option when we're going off the board a little bit. None of the options are very attractive. I mentioned Crawford. I'm not really buying what he's doing with the strikeouts in the majors. He's against a tough St. Louis team that doesn't strike out a ton. And he's in Fenway Park with some pretty good hitting weather. So difficult spot for him. Don't like the ownership that we're seeing on him. I guess Dylan Bundy would be my preferred pivot. That's never a fun thing to say. He's low strikeouts again, down at 18%, but he's got a little bit better of a matchup against Arizona. I don't know. It's ugly. Outside of that, Luke Weaver's coming back. He's not really stretched out. I don't think he goes very deep into this game. Dakota Hudson hasn't shown any strikeout ability. Same issues with him being in Fenway Park against a tough Boston offense. Cal Quantrill maybe becomes interesting. Obviously, a very difficult matchup against the Dodgers, but Mookie Betts is out of that lineup. I mean, I would never do it on a normal slate where we had other options, but he is in the conversation, I think, even against this Dodgers team. On DraftKings, Jose Suarez for the Angels is a little bit interesting. Seattle does strike out a fair amount against left-handed pitching. Suarez has not been good this year. He's really cheap, though. Maybe he can outscore Crawford at much lower ownership, and he's in that same price range. So I don't mind the Suarez pivot on DraftKings.
And you haven't seen anything as far as a pitcher for Seattle, have you?
I have not. I can try to look and see.
Yeah, I tried scouring through Twitter a couple minutes ago. Couldn't really find anything. Maybe they're just going with a bullpen game. Probable pitchers everywhere still says TBD. So it's anybody's guess as far as who's starting for Seattle. I agree on Quantrill. I mean, you're not using either pitcher in Coors. I can't use Hudson with his limited strikeout upside. Weaver, you mentioned, isn't stretched out. So the guys that are viable are simply there because they're the guys that could potentially give you 6 or 7 innings. When even Crawford's probably not going to get that deep. He pitched 5 his last time out and was very good, but he's only made a couple of starts. So basically you're looking at Bundy, Quantrill, and if you want to take a shot on somebody in Coors as your pivots away from Urias. So even from a game theory perspective, it's just hard to get away from Urias today, just because you don't see really any ceiling with any of the other guys, and it's the path of least resistance for sure. You look at the Dodgers, I mean, they're like minus 250 home favorites in the game. Cleveland's team total is at or right under 3 runs, and it's hard to find a pivot that you feel comfortable with. So ugly slate for pitching, and maybe you just take the safe routes there and try to get a little bit different with your bats, because the offenses are, they're obviously pretty good. You've got quite a few team totals above 4.5 runs tonight. I'll pivot the screen share over here to DraftKings so you can see what the pitching breakdown looks like over there, but it's not going to be a whole lot different.
Justice Sheffield is the name I might be
seeing. Oh, interesting. We haven't seen a whole lot from him. Anything as far as limits
he was out of the bullpen at the beginning of the year for the Mariners. I just pulled up his minor league game log. It is not pretty.
He was a thing for a while last year.
Yeah, he was a decent prospect for a while. He gave up 5 earned in his last start in AAA, 8 earned the start before that. So, I mean, this is a guy who's not getting anybody out in AAA. Don't like his chances much here.
Yeah, he's 5,600 on DraftKings. So you can see I brought DraftKings up. We do have him listed there. Suarez getting some ownership mainly because he's cheap and could potentially pitch deep into the game. But you got, on DraftKings where you need 2 pitchers, we got Urias at 64%, Suarez, Crawford, Bundy, the aforementioned Sheffield as your potential secondary options. It's just even harder to get away from Urias on DraftKings when you consider that like Hudson is 8,100, Quantrill is 9,200 against the Dodgers. You just kind of end up in the same spot. So Urias and Suarez, or Urias and Crawford, maybe Bundy, are going to be the most common pathways on DraftKings. And you can see outside of Urias, nobody else projected above 13 points. So it's an ugly slate for pitching. I think you can take the safe route there, even in GPPs, and try to differentiate your lineups just a little bit with the bats. So let's go there and let's talk stacks first. Who's on your mind tonight?
Yeah, Coors Field, obviously the first place to start. You've got Marquez going for the Rockies, who has struggled this year. Showed some ability last year, but really hasn't found much. Strikeouts are under 20%. Walks are okay at 7%, but giving up hard contact to both sides of the plate. San Diego is pretty clearly the top offense for me. Nick Martinez is pitching for San Diego. He has not been very good either. He's shown a little strikeout ability. I'm not sure I'm buying that, but he also has big walk issues. So Colorado is right there at the top. And then the Dodgers would be the third team just because of the talent on their offense. Did mention Mookie Betts not in the lineup again. He's missed a couple of days here. but low strikeouts from Quantrill and also gives up hard contact to both sides of the plate. So pretty clear top three there, San Diego, Colorado, and the Dodgers. Getting off the board a little bit, I'd look to Fenway Park. I like both sides of that game. Boston against Hudson in a pretty good spot. And then St. Louis against Crawford might be my favorite off the board spot. St. Louis has been pretty good. They're not striking out. Pretty big ballpark upgrade going into Fenway here. So I like them against the rookie Crawford.
I hope so for my fandom. I hope the Cardinals can score some runs tonight.
That's coming from a Cubs fan, so I got to mean it.
That's right. That's right. It's totally legit. Basically, you can make a case probably for everybody outside of the Guardians. You've got everybody else with a team total above 4 runs. I mean, you're looking at the second game of a doubleheader with a guy coming up from AAA to pitch and a guy with a 6 ERA that's going to be somewhat chalky pitching for the Angels. So, even the Angels and the Mariners, you can make a case for. And then again, this is why there's no pitching options tonight. There's plenty of options to like with the bats at pretty much every position. And the other angle with potentially going with the Angels and the Mariners is those are the last lineups we're going to get because they're still playing a first game now. Everyone who's got things going on, it's Saturday night. There's plenty of other offense. Why would I want to mess with the Angels who've lost 1 billion games this month and the Mariners, whatever, we can go elsewhere. So like those offenses, if you're looking for a little, like if I sort by the Angels here, okay, obviously you've got Trout, but everybody else, very low ownership. If you look at the Mariners, we've got less than 5% ownership on all their bats on a 5-game slate. So if you're looking to go way off the board, I don't think those teams are horrible. Basically, I think you can make a case for everybody but Cleveland on this slate. So, all right. If you want to chat with us during the show, we can we'll prioritize the questions from the RotoGrinders Discord. So if you're if you're a premium subscriber at RotoGrinders, you want to chat with us, you want to ask us a question, hop on over to the MLB Crunch Time chat in the Discord server. Also, if you're in a legal sports betting state, don't forget to sign up for the Fanduel Sportsbook. New users can get a special bonus. Bet $5, get $200 in free bets back, regardless if your bet wins or loses. Terms and conditions apply on that, but you can check them out at FanDuel Sportsbook. So, again, hop on over MLB Crunch Time chat in the RotoGrinders Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord, and we can take your questions throughout the show. All right, let's look at catcher here. We obviously only need to play one on DraftKings, so I've still got DraftKings pulled up here, and looks like Varsho is getting the majority of the ownership at catcher tonight, leading off for Arizona against Bundy. So your thoughts at catcher?
Yeah, I mean, Varsho just being in the leadoff spot, pretty talented hitter. And every one of these guys is going to have a good matchup as we go through the hitting here. Will Smith, probably the most talented catcher on the board, hitting third for the Dodgers. Really like him. Alfaro in Coors Field, definitely going to be in play. Let's see. Max Stassi, assuming that he's in the lineup. I didn't check to see who caught that first game. I can do that after I pass it over to you. But Cal Raleigh has been pretty good for the Mariners. Don't mind that. And then Servin also would be in Coors Field for the Rockies.
Yeah, Torrens and Suzuki caught the first games, so I think our projections there are probably accurate. You're probably going to see Stassi and Torrens in there in game 2, though, again, that's not confirmed yet. Just make sure if you are going to play somebody from that later game that you circle back and check on the lineups before that locks at 10. I don't mind those calls, especially if they hit, the Angels hit Suzuki 7th, and I think the Mariners hit Torrens 5th in the first game. So you get somebody batting up in the lineup there a little bit, not as chalky as Varsho or Will Smith, and I like that call as far as tournament pivots. Alfaro is fine as well. Is Austin Nola hurt? I think Alfaro caught last night as well.
Yeah, he's caught the last couple. I don't know what exactly is going on with Nola.
Or maybe he's taking the job and becoming the number one guy. Who knows? It doesn't seem like he's got any sort of injury, or at least nothing that's been reported. But again, Alfaro behind the plate tonight for San Diego. Varsho's the clear top play, but don't mind Smith and then the two catchers in the LA Seattle game if you're looking to get a little bit different. All right, let's move to first base.
All right, so you've got cheap Padres again. Luke Voigt is still a little bit underpriced. It's come up a little bit, but 4K in Coors Field, still perfectly fine with that. If you need to save some money, Eric Hosmer is the clear top option at just 2,700 here on DraftKings. My favorite tournament pivot is going to be CJ Cron. I like this Rockies team a good amount. Looks like they're going to come in a little bit less owned than the Padres. So I do like pivoting to the other side of Coors for some Rockies stacks. Freeman, you can obviously play anytime. Connor Joe in Coors Field. Paul Goldschmidt has been super hot here recently, although I did have some teams doing really well last night, and Goldschmidt did not perform, was kind of a blemish on some of my good lineups last night. So
Did you see how the game ended? So
refresh my memory. I think I was watching it.
The Cardinals were down 6-1 in the ninth with 2 outs and nobody on. And I turned it off, and then all of a sudden it was 6-5. They got 5 straight hits. It was 6, so they went from 6-1 to 6-5 with the tying run on second, and then Goldschmidt struck out looking on a fastball right down the middle to end the game. So
I knew that sounded really familiar. Yes, I had Donovan and Goldschmidt in a lineup that was in the top 10. Donovan doubled to extend the ninth for them, and then I had Goldschmidt who struck out to end the game. So that's why he's on my bad side right now.
He's not in the good graces, though. Us Cardinal fans can't be too disappointed with him. He was the player of the month in May, and hasn't been doing too bad here in June also. So it's really interesting to see how the ownership in that game is going to play out, because obviously you have some pieces for the Cardinals like Arenado and Goldschmidt, and Donovan's really cheap on DraftKings. But yet Crawford's going to be one of the more popular cheap pitching options. So one of those cases where people are probably going to be playing either both sides of it if they're multi-entering, or picking one side or the other, because I could see that matchup going either way. Cardinals are a team that sometimes they tee off against pitchers like this, and sometimes they struggle with guys they haven't seen. So like that price tag on Hosmer if you need to go cheap. But again, this is a slate where you're probably not spending elite dollars if you're on DraftKings for your SP2, because there's just nobody there. So it's a slate where even though we've got a game in Coors, you might not necessarily need it. And Hosmer on Fanduel is 3,400, so it's not like it's a big savings over there. So Hosmer pretty much a DK only play if you need it. Otherwise, this is a position where you're probably going to spend on one of the top guys. So, and we've got Connor Joe as the most popular. Interesting to see the Rockies kind of taking off in terms of ownership tonight. Martinez has had some problems with walks, and walks in Coors Field are never a good thing. So I am going to flip the screen share here back to FanDuel, and we can keep on rolling with second base. So who are you looking at there?
All right. Cronenworth going to be one of the top options here for me. Muncy in a Dodger stack, definitely don't mind that. Nolan Gorman is cheap, batting 5th for the Cardinals. I really like him today. Brendan Rodgers would be your Rockies here. Luis Arias has had a really good season. He has second base on DraftKings. I'm not sure what he is on FanDuel. I'm pulling that up right now. He is second also on FanDuel. So I don't mind him. And then Tommy Edman for the Cardinals as well. I don't mind him.
And not exactly the deepest of positions. Another spot where you can certainly just look to spend on one of the top guys like Cronenworth or Edman, or move down and look a little cheaper. I believe they are kind of still in the process of refining the projected ownership, but Arias at 3K, he's not going to be 0%. So I wonder if that's a Minnesota-wide issue or if it's just him. Yeah, it looks like it's just him. So don't mind the projected ownership there. He'll probably end up being a little higher than that. And then if you need it on FanDuel, Muncy has been one of the cheap options that people have been using all week. He's still 2,600 on FanDuel, hitting cleanup against a low strikeout pitcher. So there's the clear cheap options. You got a little bit of play at every kind of range. And Muncy at 2,600 on FanDuel, Arias at 3K. Gorman or Donovan if you're looking for some pivots, and then Cronenworth and Edman at the top. So plenty of options there, more so than what you would expect, I guess, at the second base position on a short slate. All right, let's go ahead and move to third.
Yeah, Machado is one of the top plays on the slate. In Coors Field, obviously. Really like Arenado as well. Rafi Devers, probably a position you're going to want to spend some money at. Those top three options are really great. Lost Jose Ramirez, obviously, but still plenty of upside here at the position. Ha-Seong Kim's price has come up a good amount, and he's down in that 9 hole, but he is in Coors Field, so don't mind a shot there. And Ryan McMahon has struggled quite a bit for the Rockies, but he is cheap as a result. So I do really like the matchup for McMahon here against Martinez.
Yeah, hard to ignore a 2,900 hitter on Fanduel and a 3,300 hitter on DraftKings in Coors when your team is projected for 6 runs. So McMahon, certainly a guy I don't mind playing tonight, either individually or as part of your Rocky stacks. Again, Muncy, if you're playing him, you can move him around second. It might make a little bit more sense if you want to play one of the top end third basemen. But hard to get away from not playing one of the top guys. I mean, pretty good matchup for Devers against a low strikeout pitcher, and then Machado and Coors Field. Just tough to say no to that for sure. So another guy, this kind of we can circle back and talk some home runs and stuff in a little bit. But another one I wanted to mention. We didn't mention at first base, but player I do like tonight is Christian Walker. He's 3K on FanDuel, and I like, if you're looking for a home run bet tonight, before I forget to give that out, he's plus 285 on DraftKings to hit a homer, and we all know that the one issue that Dylan Bundy has had over the years is with giving up the long ball. So assuming Walker can make contact, we know he's not the most consistent hitter, but he can hit them a long way. So either as a one-off play, don't necessarily love Arizona as a stack tonight, but they're one-off power bats that are in play for DFS. And Varsho was obviously a good option at catcher, but I do like Walker individually and as a home run option if you're looking for those home run sports bets tonight. So we've got plenty of time. We've still got lock tonight is at 7:15. So they've kind of maneuvered the schedule around on Saturdays. If you've noticed the last few weeks, there's only been like 4 or 5 night games on Saturdays, and they start at 7:15 instead of 7:05. That's because of the Fox national TV window. So you're getting two games at 7:15. So that is lock time. You don't have to scramble to finish everything in 3 minutes. You've got about 13 minutes, and we've only got shortstop and outfield left to go through. So again, plenty of time for your questions. We can prioritize them from the RotoGrinders MLB Crunch Time Discord channel. And if we have some extra free time, we can maybe grab a couple from the YouTube chat as well. So, all right, let's move on over to shortstop. What are you looking at there?
All right. Trey Turner, one of the best options on any slate he is on. Really like him tonight. Xander Bogaerts for Boston in a good spot. Trevor Story as well, like both of the Boston guys. Carlos Correa for Minnesota against Weaver, who has really struggled and not stretched out. And then that Arizona bullpen has been bad as well. So good matchup tonight for Correa. Talked about Kim at some of the other positions. He has eligibility. Don't mind him. Let's see here. Donovan, who's cheap for the Cardinals. Also a great option.
Yeah, that's most, and it's tricky on FanDuel because most of the guys are multi-position eligible. So again, like Trevor Story, you can play at second. Kim, you can play at third. Donovan, you can play at second. So those guys, if you're looking to play them, you can maybe play them at their other positions, just like we talked about at third base. If you're looking to also get guys like Correa, Turner, Bogaerts in there, and you can save, with a pick or two in the outfield. And again, we're not going 10K plus at pitcher tonight. Arias at 9,300 is going to be the most popular option. So, if we plug him into a lineup here, and then let's say, because some people wonder, well, how can I play all these star guys? If I plug in, say, my 3 favorite middle infield positions, let's say I want to go with Machado, I want to go with Edman, and I want to go with Turner. I've still got 2740 left for my remaining bats, and that's plenty doable. And you don't have to play studs at all three middle infield positions, but just showing you that it is doable if you are looking to do that, because we get to the outfield. You've got Tyler O'Neill is 2,600. Kepler's hitting third for Minnesota tonight. He's 2,500. Bellinger's 2,500 against a low strikeout pitcher. Alec Thomas is hitting up in the order for Arizona. He's 2,600. So you've got plenty of ways to get through that, say, $2,700 average spend per player with your catcher / first base and outfield spots if you're looking to play Urias and then also spend for some of those prime middle infielders. I mean, even the Colorado outfielders aren't super expensive on DraftKings outside, in that game. Profar is pretty expensive on FanDuel, but everybody else that's getting some ownership, quite a bit of ownership in the outfield, is relatively cheap. So I know we've mentioned the expensive players at most of the other positions, but that is because this is a slate that's maybe a little bit different than what you'd see on a full slate, right? The Yankees and all their prime outfielders, the Blue Jays and all their prime outfielders, and the Phillies and all their good outfielders, they all played on the afternoon slate. So it's not like we have a ton of spends at the position in the outfield tonight. So who are you looking at there?
Yeah, the San Diego guys look like they're priced up a little bit on FanDuel, but they are super cheap on DK. So definitely wanted to mention them as well. Mazzara looks like he's starting to heat up a little bit, and Grisham has struggled, but he is under 3K in Coors Field, so definitely don't mind him. Yeah, I mean, the top options, I think you mentioned some really good ones there. Bellinger, O'Neill, particularly, I really like. Charlie Blackmon has been really hot here recently. Looks like he's found a little bit of a fountain of youth. So he's a great option tonight. Jonathan Daza has also had a really good year for the Rockies. He's up in the second hole tonight, so I really like him. And the Twins guys, Max Kepler in a really good spot. And Kirilloff just got called up for Minnesota, and he was raking in AAA. So we'll see if this go around goes a little bit better for him.
Last year's wasn't so smooth, but yeah, he's 2K on FanDuel. He's hitting fifth tonight. Peralta's hitting fifth. He's 2,300. It just goes on and on with some options in the outfield that are fairly cheap. So opportunity cost isn't really that high. And Profar is a guy that on FanDuel I'm fine foregoing at 3,900. I just don't think it's necessary. Certainly if you're stacking San Diego, you want to get him in there, but at 3,900 on FanDuel, he's not usually your 3,900 kind of hitter. So that's the Coors Field bump for sure. All right, 7 minutes left. The Crunch Time channel is quiet, so we can roll through some YouTube questions. Let me go ahead and pull that up. But is there a fights tonight? Is there MMA going on tonight?
Yep, there is.
Is that done already or already started? These always start at different times depending on where they're fighting.
No, it's the main card just started, so there's still about 4 or 5 fights left.
Any hand wringing over fighter pulling out after lock this time?
No, we did have a fight scratched today, this morning, but as far as after lock stuff, no, we've been in the clear there so far. Knock on wood.
Pretty clear week outside of one withdrawal on the golf front as well. So we'll see how that goes at the U.S. Open. They're heading to the final round tomorrow. Some of the golfers are still finishing up round 3, but right now, Will Zalatoris and Matt Fitzpatrick are tied for the lead. John Rahm is 1 stroke back. Keegan Bradley, Adam Hadwin, Scotty Scheffler are 2 shots back. Sam Burns and Rory McIlroy are 3 shots back. So looking like a leaderboard with a lot of top-end golfers for the final day of the U.S. Open on Sunday. So be sure to check that out if you've got some golf sweats going on this week.
Yeah, all right. Talking a little bit pre-show, and I know you've got some stuff doing all right this weekend. So good luck to you.
Thank you. I was up to 18th in the $15 Millie Maker, and then Matt Fitzpatrick tied for the lead right before we went on the show, and I dropped to 133rd. So, that's the with the golf tournament where there's like 12 guys within 3 shots of the lead. it moves around pretty much every birdie or every bogey among the top there. So you never know. You got one that's live going into Sunday with all 6 players inside the top 25. You'll take the sweat. So plus it's Father's Day, so easy excuse, to be able to watch and not do much tomorrow. So it all sets up pretty well. All right. Ryan Martinez asking in the YouTube chat a few minutes ago, who is the top SP2 tonight? It's hard. Yes, it is. I don't think we've got any clairvoyant answers for you simply because there's just not a lot of guys that project well. Crawford is seemingly the guy that's getting the most buzz. Suarez on DraftKings. We kind of both said that Bundy is viable if you are looking maybe for a little more off the board play or somebody that at least in the past has had some good numbers, but basically you're just trying to avoid the landmines at the position. So
yeah, I think Quantrill on Fanduel is pretty interesting, just because he's going to go deep into the game. So he's live for that quality start, and he's never a guy you want to play in DFS typically because he doesn't strike out very many people. But on this slate, I don't think strikeouts are there's no strikeout upside from anybody. So I think he's much more in play than he typically is.
Yeah. Nobody's probably, if it'd be an extreme shock if somebody goes out and strikes out 12 guys tonight. You just don't see that with any of these guys. Reminder, hit the like button if you are watching and enjoying the show, setting your DFS lineups for tonight. We appreciate that. If you do that while you're watching or at least on your way out, appreciate that very much. Yeezy in the chat. Thanks for watching as always and giving that reminder to hit the thumbs up. All right. Alan S. is asking Bogarts or Edman on DraftKings in a GPP.
I like both of them. I think if you're going one off, Bogarts would be the play just because he's got a little bit more power. But I do love Edman in a Cardinal stack.
Yeah, I like that as well. All right, BHB is asking a question in our RotoGrinders Crunch Time Discord chat. A DK Cash question. This is a 2v2. One is Trey Turner and Kirilloff, who we just talked about, and number 2 is Ha-Seong Kim and Connor Joe. So which combo do you prefer there?
For cash games, I'd probably stick in Coors Field, so I like the second pairing there.
All right, I think that one is fairly close as well, but in cash, I would kind of lean the same way. We've got about 2 minutes left until lock, so scroll back up. Don't think I've missed any questions. Colin did ask about weather in Colorado, so it's a good point. Always got to make sure we check that weather on the short slates, and I will pull up Roth's update. Yellow in Colorado for a chance for a delay mid-games. Could be pop-up storm in Colorado. Weather is always a little bit wonky out there. So if you were on the pitchers, maybe a little bit more worried there. Somebody did ask about using Martinez or Marquez as a kind of an off-the-board pitching option. Would you use either of those guys, even if you're building like 50 lineups? Any interest in Marquez or Martinez?
I think you can do it on this slate. It's not something I'm doing because of Coors Field, and if like the delay adds an extra layer of risk. So, but if you're ever going to try a pitcher in Coors Field, I think this slate is fine to do it. If Marquez was pitching more similar to what he was last year, I would be all for it. But neither one has been particularly good this year.
All right. Yeah, it's tough, but again, on a slate like tonight where you might not see anybody scoring more than 25 FanDuel points at pitcher or 15 DK points, it's not the craziest idea in the world. I've kind of warmed to the idea of potentially using Quantrill against the Dodgers as well, particularly without Betts. And since he is a pitcher that, it's not a surprise to see him go 7 innings. It's a surprise to see him strike out a bunch of guys. That's probably not going to happen. But as we've talked about, you're not going to get that with a lot of guys on this slate. So, all right, with that, we are about 30 seconds away from lock. It looks like we are caught up on all the questions. So with that, probably about time to wrap it up. I gave Christian Walker earlier as my home run call of the night. You got one that you particularly like as a potential home run call?
I do, yeah. I'm going to go to Fenway Park. Give me Nolan Gorman.
All right, that would be cool to see. And Gorman is a really intriguing prospect for the Cardinals. He strikes out entirely too much, and he's still very, very raw in terms of his MLB talent. But the ball sounds different coming off of his bat, and when he connects, they can go a long way. So he's been slumping a little bit over the last week or so. Would be nice to see him pop out of it, but he's got big time power, fun to watch when he hits the ball. So I don't mind that as a home run bet or as a one-off play in DFS as well. So with that, we are at lock, and it is time for us to get out of here. Enjoy the baseball sweat tonight, everybody. Enjoy the MMA fights if you're playing that card. Enjoy the golf if you're watching that. Plenty of sports to get us through the weekend. And we will be back here as usual tomorrow with our show at 1 o'clock for the 1:35 Eastern lock time. So you can catch us at 1 o'clock tomorrow. That will be Keith as well, triple duty for the weekend, and myself and Andre will be joining us tomorrow as well. So we'll catch you then 1 o'clock tomorrow. Until then, have a great Saturday night, everybody. Thanks to Keith for joining me. I'm Justin. Thanks to Devin for producing behind the scenes for us as well. And we will catch you back here tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody.